My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. I am being targeted by closeted homosexuals, which make many cowards, okay? This is the entity that is gang stalking. This is a serial stalker. He goes out of his way to gang stalk me in Ontario when I'm capturing particularly damning evidence. You're looking at the people of the state that are pacing right now. These are gang members, and these are the demon-possessed that don't have a purpose. Their purpose is to monitor under a fake sun, and they're doing so. It's relevant because the government's gang stalking. They're under the fake sun, and they're not here about anything that's actually about business in the city hall. They're here under the fake sun that's remaining over me in Ontario yesterday when I'm at the St. George Catholic Church, which is not in Upland, California. The other analytical framework is while I'm inside of this building and I'm standing what is essentially at the same location facing the staircase, which is through the center of this building after 5 p.m., this fake sun is over me inside because you can see it through the roof that has windows above it. That which has the fake sun over me now, while it's remaining in Ontario yesterday at this time, and that which is over me now, which is remaining over me when I'm in Upland, California, after 5 p.m. is the evidence of the fake sun, which is evidence that a population is engaging in what is the matter of public corruption, stalkers, okay? And the entity is engaging in the cowards who are homosexuals that make up demons like Jason Isaac Fields are stalking me by helicopter while my phone is powered off. They're going to prison though. Okay, and Jason Isaac Fields is not getting anything other than being outed as a homosexual. That's the only reward he's gotten while you all have watched him fail in sacrificing an innocent person, a woman that will never have anything to do with him, not only because he is a homosexual, but because he is a demon who engaged in gang stalking and sexual activity and marriage with my relative, the demon that's going to prison, Jezebel herself, Tracy Banks, okay? This is the Upland Public Library where the entity has the fake sun over me while I am inside of the building, which is this fake sun literally at the same position after 5 p.m. This is the P.O.C. The entity stalking by helicopter. All the employees of the Upland Public Library are going to prison. Okay, so that's Alan, Kiki, Elizabeth, Carissa, Adam Tuckerman, the demons that are monitoring with the vagina monitors that sit inside to engage in surveilling me all day long. And they're doing so with regard to the gang stalking organizer, this closeted homosexual who's been outed through my documentation, Jason Isaac Fields. This is P.O.C. and it's 8:38 a.m. This is relevant to St. George Catholic Church where the fake sun is over me yesterday and where the entity is maintaining this fake sun while I'm being harassed and gang stalked at what is D Street and Laurel at the apartment complex where the entity is harassing me and I'm documenting psychopaths that are going to federal prison by virtue of that pattern of conduct while they're being documented. This is P.O.C. It's 8:39 a.m. Ongoing disparaging conduct occurring with those that are engaging in criminal activity in the uniforms, bringing shame and disgrace to it. This is the entity that's engaging in stalking that's associated with this uniform. You've got the trainees. These are all demons as well that are associated with these uniforms. These are all the demons that are under the fake sun engaging in criminal activity with the people of the state. These are vagina monitors all dressed up while they're engaging in that. That's what's associated with these uniforms. This is the pattern of conduct. All right, this is the shame that's associated with these military branches engaging in un-American conduct, and this is the shame that's attached with what the entity is being prosecuted for, treason. These are the homosexuality is associated with these uniforms, criminal activity is associated with these uniforms, Satanism is associated with these uniforms, and this is the entity that's bringing shame to the United States. This is the P.O.C. It's currently 9:30 a.m. Can I help you, Miller? This is the U.S. Marines that's engaging in the pattern of conduct. That's the P.O.C. These are the ones stalking in helicopter this morning. This is the truth about what the entity is engaging in. The fake sun's in Ontario, California, while they are under it, engaging in what is making a statement. And it's a statement that is defying and showing what is the purpose of this country, while they make a mockery of it. P.O.C. This is their reality, and this, I want to be clear, this is the implosion of this country. These are the demons. These are the ones that are engaging in the P.O.C. This is shameful. It's shameful. It's a pattern of conduct, P.O.C. This is a ritual. That's what you're looking at. This is a ritual. Monitoring the phones. This is the pattern of conduct, P.O.C. This is the reality of what is the meaninglessness of what they have brought to nothingness. That's the reality of it. They're nothing other than vagina monitors, P.O.C. All right, this is, again, the U.S. Marines. Miller that's approaching is monitoring, getting your certificate as your gang stalking. This is the demon that's pacing. And this is what Satan has done to the U.S. military. And this is what is associated with what is gang stalking. The un-American criminal conduct, the sex offenders that are the U.S. Marines. And this is the entity that's engaging in what is that P.O.C., performing a ritual, right? Wearing the uniforms. They might as well be wiping fecal matter all over it because that's how meaningless it is. That's the entity that's gang stalking. That's P.O.C. This is what's being prosecuted for treason. P.O.C. How can I help you?
Do we have a moment? Do you mind?
You're having a moment, and so am I. Okay. You went out of your way to do it under the fake sun, and I'm going to go ahead and document it. This is that ongoing pattern of conduct. Is there something you want to say?
I don't know.
Because you're here for this country, right? So you know I have freedom of speech. So back up. So back up. No, but it's a special, it sure is, and I'm getting it. I'm getting that un-American, fecal-filled moment on camera. You went out of your way to do it on camera, and I'm going to get it. This is the pattern of conduct while they bring shame to the U.S. Marines. You bring shame to the U.S. Marines. Get out of here. You're not Americans. All you did was put it on the pattern of conduct, and they know what it is. You bring shame to this country. That's entirely antithetical to what this country is about. And I'm glad it's on video. It's pathetic. That's the pattern of conduct. That's what the U.S. Marines are doing. Those are the homosexuals stalking in jets, flying in commercial planes, stalking me from city to city, and I'm so important that they wanted to do that in front of me under the fake sun that's in Ontario, California today. Okay? This is speaking to what is antithetical about what this country is about, and people like myself that are not even in the military have to expose the hypocrites that are bringing down what this country is actually supposed to be about, and they are the reason why this country is engaging in what is treason right now. They're being prosecuted for it. This is P.O.C. All right, what you witnessed on video was the entity performing a ritual under the fake sun. And that's why the unnatural environment is occurring while the entity is engaging in what is centering around me. They also wanted it to be around me. That was actually pride that the demon-possessed have with regard to their allegiance to Satan. And they do it under the guise of performing a ceremony. This is a ceremony that's occurring in the specific environment where the fake sun is still here in that same location after 4 p.m., after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, after 5 p.m. as I'm documenting. And you're looking at that same mental illness while that entity is engaging in that. And they're exhibiting that ongoing indifference, and they did it during the course of what is providing what is some sort of ceremony to a one that is becoming an official gang member with the U.S. military. The U.S. military are the psychopaths that are engaging in the U-turns and the dips and the dives and the stalking and the hovering and the commercial planes. There's nothing proud or virtuous about what the entity is, and that you are actually witnessing what I am bringing, speaking the truth to, is the illusion that you're looking at on the surface, and you can see through that illusion because it's occurring under the fake sun. And the reality is that the demon-possessed are proudly in service of Satan, and this is the demise of the U.S. And this is the entity that's doing that. And so you had the people of the state in relevant position monitoring on their communication devices under the fake sun, gang stalking at the UPLAND City Hall, while yesterday the fake sun is remaining in Ontario. This is the mentally ill that also are the demise of the U.S. military. Nothing sexy about mental illness, nothing sexy about criminal activity, nothing sexy about Satanism, nothing sexy about being a stalker. Okay? And this is the entity that has disparaged and brought disgrace to that. And the U.S. military are the demon-possessed, and that's why they have a sense of pride with their allegiance to Satan. Satan that has ruined the identity of this country behind the gang stalkers who are the military. Okay? And they're being prosecuted for treason. There's also no honor in that. And this is the evidence that's going to be used against them in court with regard to the terrorists that are the military. The U.S. Marines, all the branches are engaging in the pattern of conduct. The Marines are representative of that terrorists that are gang stalking. That's why they are under a fake sun. In the video, you will see the entity that's the city of UPLAND stalking in the sky space. And as I documented earlier, the entity is stalking by helicopter. And then the homosexuals have the audacity to form what is a little ritual right here. That's what's a ritual with regard to what is under the guise of presenting something honorable to someone else, and all they're doing is monitoring. It's monitoring, and it's pathetic, and science is prosecuting the homosexuals of the U.S. military who are being relieved of their duties. They're being put in prison, and they're being put in mental institutions. And there is no amount of ignoring as it's being documented that's going to change that. There is no amount of indifferent behavior that's going to avert that. There is no amount of supportive gang stalkers and minors that are demons as well in the same specific environment that is going to avoid those inevitable consequences. And Bill Velto's engaged in it, and all the demons that are inside of the Up and Public Library, it remains the same. This is the entity that's always relying upon the gang members maintaining that narrative, which is unpersuasive, and it is nothing other than abject psychotic behavior. This is the entity that's engaging in what is public corruption, and it includes, as you see today,
the U.S. military showing themselves the cowards that they are, trying to hide behind logos. You know there's no passengers on the planes of Southwest Airlines while they're stalking in Upland, California, while they're doing U-turns over the city library, while they are following me around and then holding a ceremony in front of me. It's the same entity under that same specific environment. This is targeting. All right, holding a certificate to and giving it to them under the light source is the pathetic means of engaging in what is the pattern of conduct. Satan worships the one whom he is monitoring, and the U.S. military is engaged in monitoring. They are Satan's servants. That's it. And this is literally the reality, is that they're proud of their allegiance to Satan. And it's something that has brought down and deteriorated this country, and that's something that's going to be increasingly witnessed. What Satan has done to the U.S., the demise of the U.S., and what is the shamefulness, the disgrace to those that should be noble and worthy and trustworthy and should be honored, and they are not, and that's why they're being treated in the manner that is worthy under that fake son gang stalking an American citizen while in the midst of holding what is an illusion. Okay, something that doesn't have to do with while you're a gang stalker, something that doesn't have to do with the person that you are actually targeting. It's pathetic. That's the P.O.C. And that's why, that's literally what you witnessed, and they were humiliated while Miller is approaching. And that's the whole reason why you came outside. You just thought I wasn't going to say anything. These are the cowards that are engaging in that conduct. Remember, at the end of the day, the fake son is in here. It's not going, it's the fake son is, the fake son is here at the end of the day, while the gang stalkers walk away, go about the rest of the day, and that's how you know what is wrong with the U.S. military that showed themselves and showed why their uniforms are worthy to be burned up, and why they're being prosecuted for treason, and why they're being prosecuted for the criminal activity of the people of the state, with whom they've joined hands in engaging in terrorism in the U.S. This is the pattern of conduct. That's the entity that's engaging in that, and that is what is so despicable about what I'm witnessing today and why I'm speaking directly to it, which is what Satan has done, and this is the ongoing inevitable demise, and it's also a demise when it's being prosecuted. It's literally a part of the P.O.C., and that is what is speaking volumes. You can look at that tape on mute because you're looking at the prosecution of the U.S. military. It's the P.O.C. It is currently 9:45 a.m.
All right, this is documentation of what is relevant regarding the U.S. military that were gang stalking via a use of a ceremony to engage in the pattern of conduct. This is relevant to what you saw yesterday in Ontario under the fake sun, where the entity engaged in what is maintaining a dance routine with teenagers under the fake sun, where the demon-possessed, they really want to stand right in front of me and hold their phones out and pace all around. And so they center their physical attention around something else while they are in relevant position, engaging in just that. What you see here is the light source that's in the same position it is under 5 p.m. while you're looking at demonic pacing. All right, they're doing so with the entity that is engaging in what is pacing into the bathroom. So an army of homosexual females who are interested in murder, who are actively engaging in that conspiracy to murder, and it's relevant to the U.S. Marines that came to engage in gang stalking me today, very much triggered by the truth that I speak as they are watching the ongoing implosion of terrorism that the U.S. military has been engaged in for centuries in this country. So the entities engaging in what is marching in, filling all the bathroom stalls, and one by one, as they come out of the bathroom stall, another homosexual enters the women's restroom, and another one is maintaining presence at the doorway with the operation of her communication device. This is what they're doing under the fake sun that's in the same position after 5 p.m., which is what I documented on Saturday. Today is Monday morning, and this is surveillance that is shared by this is the impossible light activity, okay, because this is above the building, and then you have the light activity that's appearing at this corner. When I'm looking at that is right above my head. It's also impossible because the fake sun's remaining in Ontario yesterday. This is the P.O.C. vagina monitors that are engaging in surveillance in that bathroom while they are engaging in psychotic behaviors such as pacing and keeping a woman's vagina under surveillance in order to murder her. So I just want to he's engaging this in Upland, California, and the fake sun remains, just like I stated on video, long after the demons of the U.S. Marines walk away, leave, and it's also here as a matter of evidence, which is prosecuting the military and putting the Upland employees in prison. Those who are pacing right now are maintaining this same criminal system in the afternoon where the fake sun remains well after 6 p.m. These two homosexuals are engaging in surveillance of my vagina, by the way, on behalf of an entity. Okay, and the gang members followed into the bathroom. They're engaged in diligent surveillance of my genitalia, all right, and doing so while they are all filling the bathroom stalls, engaging in what is gang stalking, which is what the U.S. military is engaging in bathrooms inside of your home as well. The pattern of conduct where you're under surveillance. This is the P.O.C. There's nothing honorable about handing over a certificate and yelling at the top of your lungs, which is not courage, it's not authority, it's not honor, it's not anything other than the entities showing themselves to be the demons that they are, that keep my vagina under surveillance, and they engage in that POC outside of the same venue, the Upland Public Library, where the fake sun is sitting, and it remains over me. They were engaged in worshiping me while wearing those U.S. military uniforms, to which they bring shame. Okay, shame where they are attached to and they are associating and inextricably linked with vagina monitoring. This is a pattern of conduct where the entity is monitoring the ongoing evidence that's going on the internet. And treason in the U.S. is associated with what is surveillance of genitalia. And the entity stalks me in helicopters because they are triggered by the truth about what they're doing and what is inevitable evidence, insurmountable, irreducible evidence of it. This is P.O.C. The sun wouldn't be at the same location that it was this morning during the 9 a.m. hour. And the sun is not going to be over the roof of this Upland Public Library where I'm literally in Ontario yesterday. That is the pattern of conduct. Alrighty, it is 11:28 a.m. Gang stalking in and out of restrooms. P.O.C. That's American Medical Response. That is stalking me. Okay? American Medical Response is engaged in domestic terrorism, psychological torture, and they're going to be federally prosecuted for that. This is the EMTs that are demonstrating a severe level of mental instability, psychopathic, antisocial. They're also sex offenders that are engaging in criminal surveillance. This is light activity. The vehicles are engaged in psychopathic pacing, maintaining a ritual that is centered on me, and the fake sun is not in Ontario today like it was yesterday. It is over me at Upland Public Library. This is the same location where the fake sun is, where Landivar of Upland Police are gang stalking during the 8 a.m. hour. This is how you know all stalking. They're all listening to me, and they are also engaged in vagina monitor. American Medical Response is engaging in that in concert with the people of the state who are psychopaths, engaging in what is surveillance by being presence, maintaining presence, while maintaining an outward and different demeanor, which is psychopathic. It's not suggesting that they're innocent, not suggesting that they're deaf, not suggesting that they're not engaging in anything. The entity is maintaining impossible light activity. It's impossible because the fake sun, all right, it's necessarily the fake sun. It's impossible because, remember, when the teenagers are doing their dance routine at the Ontario Ovid Family Community Library, after I returned from the Bethel congregation at 1:22 p.m., that fake sun stayed there. And that's also where United Airlines and Southwest Airlines and UPS and Delta Airlines were engaged in psychopathic pacing. This is impossible light activity. It's not by virtue of the documentation in order to keep track of where demons are monitoring you. Demons are monitoring my vagina while they're stalking inside of the bathroom, because that's what that is. This demon is going into the bathroom while the entity is sounding sirens and you are being monitored. So while you think about the fact you need to use the restroom, sirens are already starting sounding. Sex offenders, homosexuals, predators, those that are interested in murder in particular. Okay? This is a dog that's dressed up in a meat suit. This is a vagina monitor, a sex offender, a co-conspirator of murder. While outside and inside, they are conspiring your murder by keeping you under surveillance, gang stalking you. Further analysis, the entity is keeping the fake sun, as I documented, the U.S. military. The psychopaths that I told you that they are, that the evidence has already proven that they are, and that they demonstrate they are, while they maintain what is, again, an outward activity. They use what is the ceremonies where they're recruiting cult members to engage in gang stalking me. That was during the 9 a.m. hour. The fake sun is still over this same venue where you were looking at the terrorists that are a part of the U.S. military, the homosexuals, gang stalking with psychopaths, which is what this one is, gang stalking. Okay, following me around inside of the library, she's a gang stalking tutor. She's a psychopath, and that is not just her. This is the entire entity that's engaged in that, going right into the bathroom. Okay, the entity is very much determined, and Adam Tuckerman's going to prison for it. Okay, this is Kiki. She's going to federal prison. This engage in when they commit kidnapping, and they're doing that pertaining to what is an ongoing determination in the face of the damning evidence. This is a matter of judicial notice, and you're looking at the sex offenders running into the bathroom. That is specifically about my vagina in particular, and the entity that's engaging in treason, the entity that is a violent sex offender, the entity stalking me by helicopter at this venue, is engaging in what is demonstrating a level of impunity that is a threat to national security. And that's the entity that's determined to engage in surveillance in the bathroom, the violent sex offender. P.O.C. It is currently 2:23 p.m. That is P.O.C. So the entity engaging in what is making sure that they are crossing path. This is psychopathic behavior of a sexual nature. Coming into the bathroom, fake sun remains over me while I'm at the same venue. They're maintaining activity. How do you do that in a bathroom? Well, you come inside and you crouch inside of a stall and relieve yourself as well. These are demons, whether they have to use the bathroom or not, that are engaging in psychopathic behavior on behalf of the U.S. military that you saw holding a ceremony in order to engage in gang stalking and furtherance of murder. They are the mentally ill. This is the Nephilim. And these are sex offenders that are going to be subject to martial law, and they're going to be separated from minor children. They're going to be appropriately labeled as sex offenders engaging in terrorism on behalf of the U.S. military. The ones that tried to stand up and look as though they were noble and dignified and honorable, and you are juxtaposing that with the videos of psychopathic pacing and helicopters over my head, following me from place to place, dipping and diving and U-turning and cartwheeling in commercial planes like the maniacal psychopaths that they are, wearing a uniform or not. The entity is engaging in that P.O.C. and they bring disgrace to that uniform, and that's exactly what I said, and that's exactly what the truth is. Monitoring my vagina is ignoble and disgusting, and that's what the U.S. government is engaging in. This is P.O.C. while sex offenders come into the restroom, and Adam Tuckerman is going to prison. P.O.C. P.O.C. That's a pattern of conduct. There's the fake sun, the ongoing confirmation that the U.S. Marines were gang stalking this morning as well. These are the mentally ill that continuously provide a body of evidence against themselves. And let me remind you about who's going to prison. There she is right there. This is Kiki. She's going to federal prison. So is Adam Tuckerman. He's here. The people of the state are engaging in the pattern of conduct, doing so with minor children. This ongoing criminal activity while you are maintaining focused on the activity that you have devoted yourself to staring at, focusing on, while you're gang stalking. Okay, that's the pattern of conduct. This is the role of the people of the state, and the people of the state are being subject to martial law for the protection of the American public. They're being federally prosecuted as domestic terrorists who are violent sex offenders. This is psychopathic pacing. This is the psychopath, this is mental illness, and the population that is indeed mentally ill is going to be subject to martial law. They are over and under majority sharing in that psychopathic disorder. All right, they're under the fake sun. This is P.O.C. and the entities engaged in this while they are engaged in vagina monitoring and then gang stalking by helicopter. The entity followed me to Stater Brothers last night. The entity was gang stalking me by helicopter at the Ovid Family Community Library where the fake sun remains yesterday. Which is a matter of evidence as I remain at the site of the Ovid Family Community Library, and you're looking at Kiki that just engaged in psychopathic pacing as well. This is the ritualistic behavior that they engage in when they are hostile, okay? Keeping a straight face, maintaining an outward calm demeanor. The rage and the threat, the violence is communicated by the demons that are using the helicopters while the people of the state keep a stone face. They're being committed. They're all being subject to martial law. This is the entity that also engages in serial killings and kidnappings and murders, and then they watch the conduct that they committed together as an entity on the news while that illusion is maintained. This entity commits murders together. The police are investigating them. The police are gang stalking with the demons that just flew over by helicopter. They're maintaining ongoing surveillance, including in the bathroom. And this is while hostile because more evidence is going on the internet, and it's putting the entity where it belongs, involuntarily committed in mental institutions. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, it is currently 2:40 p.m. Remember, the entity is stalking by helicopter, flying in circles over me at the library in Ontario, follows me to the Stater Brothers parking lot where they flew in circles over me at that Stater Brothers last night, is engaging what is stalking me by helicopter, and then remember, they are triggered while I maintain my podcast. I publish it. The entity is stalking by helicopter. As I document, the entity is stalking by helicopter. As I capture the fake son and the mental illness exhibited by those that are unfit to be in the medical field, i.e. American Medical Response EMTs, the entity is stalking by helicopter. They are outraged while they are being exposed. Those of the U.S. military are being involuntarily committed and they're going to prison. P.O.C. It's 5:35 p.m. The Upland Public Library is continuously engaged in gang stalking and furtherance of murder. That is the city of Upland. And that is the city of Upland that is conspiring murder with the U.S. military, which you had the opportunity to see them engaging in domestic terrorism while dressed and decorating themselves as noble military men and women. That is the entity that is maliciously engaging in the pattern of conduct. It is equally malicious when the U.S. military are wearing the mask of the people of the state that are demons, gang stalking, pushing strollers, and carrying their babies on their chests, and walking them hand in hand into the Upland Public Library, where they are engaging in equally criminal monitoring under the equally fake sun that is equally remaining, which is the judicially noticed fact that is controlling the prosecution of those that are engaging in terrorism, like you witnessed by helicopter today, doing so while I am documenting the U.S. military via the sex offenders entering into the women and men's restroom, monitoring my vagina, and that is followed by stalking me by helicopter under that fake sun that is present over the same building that it was this morning, where those U.S. military men and women were holding what is a ceremony which is supposed to distract you from the fact that they are gang stalking. Not just distract you, but it's actually playing subconsciously on what is your awareness pertaining to what it is that you are exactly witnessing. This is the entity that is utilizing psychological tactics. With regard to targeting the American citizen, psychological warfare is what is underway while the entity is maintaining a ceremony as a means of gang stalking. And that's exactly what the entity is doing. And they are, just as the psychopaths that are not ignorant, sitting in the library all day long in the fake sun for over 7 hours, are equally cognizant of that. They're also cognizant when that video of that ceremony under the fake sun, where it has engaged in an outright departure from being in Ontario, like I documented yesterday. The entity is aware, while the same pattern of conduct that includes the city of Upland, which is actually the U.S. military and the city of Upland, are maintaining inaudible plane activity, the cloud formation, which you can see in the video, where that fake sun is blazing in the sky space, hovering in its position in alignment to me, where gang stalking is underway under the guise of a ceremony, where demons are honoring each other and speaking to the fact of the terrorists that are psychopathic, engaging in war tactics in the U.S. And it is treason while the U.S. military does so for profit in concert with those outside of the United States. The entity is engaging in what is ongoing gang stalking inside, and the employees, that does include Kiki and Brianna. Adam Tuckerman's here pacing today. The entity is engaging in this. All of the employees are subject to a federal prosecution. They're subject to prison. But what you'll see on video is Kiki. She walks out of the office while the entity is stalking by helicopter. This is a serious and documented and noted exposure regarding her impunity toward me, regarding her animosity, her aggression, while she is pacing. This is a psychopath that is showing that aggression, doing so with the entity that is stalking by helicopter, and while all the rest of the demons that are equally hostile, equally psychotic, equally gang stalking, keep a straight face and keep staring at the books, keep staring at the kids, keep staring at the computers. The entity is doing so in that specific environment, and that is what is controlled, and that's why no mentally ill population are going to control the course of justice by merely all the gang members maintaining the same straight face. This is how that corrupt population is exhibiting mental illness to a level of a threat that is violating the rights of American citizens. It is a national security threat, and it is necessitating, that is mandating martial law. What the entity is doing inside of the Upland Public Library is maintaining ongoing audible activity. This is the mentally ill that are harassing me. So while the entity is stalking with amplified plane activity, just like you saw the helicopter. They've been maintaining the ongoing course of plane activity while they are maintaining the ongoing maintenance of light activity. Under the fake sun that remains, the demons that are outside are stalking me with noise, targeting me inside of the venue, while the demons on the inside, like Elizabeth, are maintaining amplified audible activity, accentuating it with the sound of door closures slamming, doing so while the entity is maintaining that ongoing psychopathic behavioral pattern, which is going to serve for involuntary commitments. Okay, the psychopathic behavior includes while they engage in the elements of monitoring, while you're stalking with light, while you're stalking with noise, and while you are gang stalking in the psychopathic manner that the people of the state show you, keeping a straight face, or the opposite, making unfounded allegations while you are fully engaging in a pattern of conduct and further into murdering that person, you're going to be committed. Okay, this is P.O.C. Hi, Miss Elizabeth. I would like to exchange this laptop, please, for one that has a fully charged battery. Is that possible?
Can't guarantee it'll have a charged battery, but some of them have been plugged in.
Oh, okay. Laura is here gang stalking. She's got the pink bookshelf, gang stalking at the elevator. And yeah, that's all mine. And this is Elizabeth, that's gang stalking at the circulation desk. Under the fake sun, it's still here. What time is it? Oh, 5:41. Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, it's charged. Thank you. Do you mind if I get some of those disinfectant wipes? Do you have any? The entity's amplifying plane activity.
Someone made off with our bottle. They're not down here.
Oh, okay. Do you have any napkins, paper towels, anything? Or?
Tissue.
Oh, okay. No. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Alrighty, what you recall is that there are many, many people being federally prosecuted at the same time, including the entirety of the city of Ontario. And that's just the immediate picture because the entity is maintaining the pattern of conduct throughout the state of California. So this is the prosecution of the entire state. And as you are aware of this specific environment, which contradicts science, common sense, and nature, this is exposing what the United States is engaging in with the U.S. military that is stalking me from city to city. The entity is maintaining the environment, and it is a prosecution of those that include Mickey and Dylan that were gang stalking with the U.S. military that were hovering in commercial planes based on an ongoing fanatical, maniacal, and delusional desire to engage in some iteration of a retaliation while they monitor my evidence. And under that fake sun that was remaining after 4 p.m., Dylan and Mickey are crossing paths. Those two are employees of another city library that is also engaging in criminal surveillance in the malicious way that Elizabeth is. While she is gang stalking me as I request a computer, the entity is psychologically torturing me and amplifying plane activity, which is under the fake sun, which is getting to the scientific evidence speaking to very specific targeting as opposed to what is lawful or permitted or just random insignificant plane activity. Okay, the entity is engaged in that, and the entity has engaged in what is keeping the ongoing natural environment, which is just depriving Ontario, California of any sun today while I am up in California, and the entities maintaining surveillance on the on the inside of the Upland Public Library. That's the significance of that. Just give me 1 second. I'm just looking for this book that I was in search of, but I'm not sure. What was that book called? Muy interesantes. Alrighty. I guess I'll have to find that book later. So it is currently 5:44 p.m. I'm documenting a gang stalker, and it's funny because they know that they're being documented while they're monitoring, and to admit that is to admit that you're monitoring. And I've caught many dunces doing that over and over again. This is why I'm laughing. Nonetheless, this is an African American or an African or a Jamaican. This is a dark melanated male that's gang stalking in relevant position inside of the library. The entity is surrounding me. Okay, so they are stalking together with the entity that is amplifying plain activity, and this is the ongoing unabated program of psychological torture, which the city of Upland is going to compensate and be federally prosecuted for. Namely, Adam Tuckerman, who's going to prison, just like Sean Thrasher in Ontario, who was going to federal prison. This is the entity that's also maintaining surveillance of my vagina in the bathroom, which is what I'm documenting. What's relevant to the perpetual sex offense, which occurs inside of private spaces and also outside while you're being molested with that which isn't even sunlight, while you are being stalked with an environment for a criminal purpose of surveilling you in furtherance of murdering you. So that is absolutely an unlawful touching. The entity, moreover, goes out of its way to prove that it is targeting you while you maintain documentation, while you engage in what is stalking that person by helicopter targeting. And that's what the entity is doing, as I documented today again at the Upland Public Library, while the mentally ill are being exploited for their inability to control themselves and otherwise disprove that they are not engaging in seeking to murder an American citizen in concert with those that are even outside of the United States, which would be the prosecution for Article 3, Section 3, treason by the U.S. military that stood in front of you and held a ceremony where they were maintaining what is a ritual as a cult. Those who are demon possessed, and what you were actually witnessing was their allegiance to Satan and their engagement in criminal activity. And they did it under the disgusting guise of maintaining a ceremony honoring one that has become what is supposedly an honorable member of the U.S. military. That's what's so disgusting about the entity. That same military is stalking me right now in Plains. All right, that's the P.O.C. The entity, this is Elizabeth. There was Laura, like I stated. You have the demons that are engaged in psychopathic behavior with those that are under 18, just like you saw, like you're seeing on an ongoing basis, but just like you saw yesterday, gang stalking me with teenagers under the fake sun at 1:22 p.m. And there's no sun over where those teenagers were assembled yesterday in order to engage in terrorizing an American citizen that is older than them, an adult, which is how and why minors shall be subject to prosecution for terrorism as sex offenders, subject to the same application of law, and also subject to confinement. The entities engaging in what is the pattern of conduct, and this is the necessity of martial law for that entire population. This is speaking to the policies that are going to surround the terrorists, who are the states that engage in this conduct, and they will be no longer receiving federal benefits, such as what Gavin Newsom requests from the federal government after the state sets fire to properties and engages in what is prostituting that system, and doing so under false pretenses, such as not exposing the fact that he is also financing domestic terrorism, criminal surveillance. This is an entity that's engaged in those sorts of fraudulent and criminal acts while American citizens like myself are being targeted, and they don't even know that. They don't know that fact, and they also don't have an ability to prove it. What the United States military, the government, is doing is that which is intended to falsely depict their character and to take their lives, and in my instance, in my case, take my money and my property while doing so. And you are going to be committed, and you're going to prison for that. That includes Jason Isaac Fields. I just want to be clear. The reason why this entity is being prosecuted so profusely, being humiliated so badly, so severely, is because of what they are doing, first of all. And second of all, because this entity thought that they were going to make a spectacle of me on top of kill me. And that includes Jason Isaac Fields, who remains engaged in what is that which would be defined as having unclean hands. This is not a legitimate investigation. I am the one that's maintaining an investigation, and I am the one that is doing that single-handedly, and he is no partner or a helper of mine. Neither is the federal government. And where I am to be removed from California, removed from the city, wherever it is that I go, which is not going to be public information, Jason Isaac Fields will not be a part of that exile out of this circumstance. He is an enemy, and he is a threat, and he is someone that is not to be informed about my money, not to be in custody or having access to it, not anyone that is trusted, and he shouldn't even be in law enforcement, and I will prosecute and enforce my rights to that end if this is the case. But if that is the case, this is speaking to the very much the enemy that is the federal government, that is not conducting what is a a legitimate, a competent investigation. And that was since the beginning. That's why he's having sex with men, and that's why he's a cult member. That's why this cult is being prosecuted by myself. And this cult member calls itself the U.S. military at the same time, and that's what you need to understand. The mental instability of Jason is also a basis of literally rendering dubious any sort of information that he claims to have in an investigation. It's not an investigation. Jason Fields and the government have been targeting me. All right, so Jason Fields is absolutely a duplicitous character, untrustworthy, and who has unclean hands, and will have no parts in what is the world learning about what an American citizen had to endure, and then also undertake in prosecuting and proving that, which Jason Fields intended my death in doing so. He intended for me to die. All right, this is not a hero, and he is not engaging in any sort of partnership with me, and that is impossible to be the case when I remain subject to the pattern of conduct, and he's not. There's been no contract, no agreement. There was never any such agreement. In fact, he had an agreement with my mother based on sexual activity of all manner, which is entirely perverted and mentally ill of himself, while he combines that sexual relationship with witchcraft and criminal activity altogether. He was literally peer pressured into homosexuality. This is somebody that is entirely unstable. All right, so I just want to make sure that that is abundantly clear. This prosecution is one that I remain subject to simultaneously to criminal activity, and Jason Fields is not helping in that. And any sort of conduct that the government takes with regard to remedying by necessity, because I forced the government to do its job, does not make Jason Fields any type of hero. He remains one that is outside of anything that has to do with me, and I remain in a position of authority to dictate that. And any violation of my rights is going to be federal charges for Jason Fields and anybody that is facilitating that violation of my rights. It is currently 5:51 p.m. This is P.O.C.
Okay, this is P.O.C. First of all, the U.S. military is stalking in Ontario. U-turns over the downtown Ontario luxury apartments, which is extending beyond the Ovid Family Community Library. That's to stalk me with this demon right here, who is anticipating being documented because he's a demon. And this is mental illness, not grooving and dancing. And this is the same one that's stalking me at 5 in the morning in the dark, as I documented at the intersection of Palm and Holt Boulevard. And this is the entity that's going to be subject to federal prison. All right, he's engaged in stalking, very mentally ill behavior with the Ontario police early this morning. I took a picture of him stalking in the path, and he's engaging in what is an act of retaliation. The mentally ill engage in this, and I document it. And he's monitoring while the entity engages in mentally ill behavior, they're going to be committed by it. He's monitoring while you're looking at him engaging in what is dance movements, and he's monitoring while these demons are molesting. They're monitoring together while the entity did a cartwheel over the downtown Ontario luxury apartments, which is the gang stalker Sarah's Regis group. He could have been, this is the entity that is stalking, meeting me at this intersection to engage in that, which is evidence regarding the people of the state stalking on the roads and the highways as well. While the entity didn't engage in what is flying west over, doing a cartwheel with regard to what is that psychopathic pacing. And this is relevant to ARCO that's monitoring, ARCO employees that are monitoring, Chevron that's monitoring, Chevron employees that are monitoring. That is the one that engaged in what is accusing me of that which he knows I did not do, which is stealing, and it's criminal defamation. It's a basis of prison. German, he is monitoring, and the ARCO employee is also monitoring with the customers. ARCO is being federally prosecuted. 9 Bob 0 Yolanda 930, and this is the ARCO employee that's monitoring 7HWX195. This is the entity that is following me around, engaging in what is only in their minds because they're obsessed with me, and that's the conduct of the mentally ill. This is the P.O.C. The entity is stalking by maintaining surveillance in the parking lot. These are the demon possessed of the Ontario Police. This is what they were doing under the fake sun when I was coming from Bethel Congregation on this street right here, Lemon and E, and the fake sun is over me. This is the entity sharing in that surveillance. This is the demons that are going to be subject to federal prison. All right, molestation while they're stalking with the police. The entity, the mentally ill that leave their vehicles around as though someone is scared of them, and they're the ones that are trying to delete my evidence off the internet because Mike Lorenz and the rest of them are going to prison. All right, these are vagina monitors. This is the entity that's engaged in this conduct because of what I publish on the internet. And what I publish on the internet is having the Ontario Police Department disbanded. This is vehicle 1127, 1706, 921. And the African American that's monitoring at the intersection was gang stalking this morning with the Ontario Police and is doing so now. This is P.O.C. and this is indeed federal prison. The Ontario International Airport is gang stalking. That's a male. Is this Vivanco that engaged in kidnapping? Yeah, he's going to prison already. The entity is engaging in surveillance, and they know they're going to be documented. He's already going to federal prison September 28, 2025. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, this is the entity that's engaging. I just want to be clear. The ongoing conspiracy with the Ontario International Airport, the U.S. military, and the police is hereby established. There's no takeoffs here. There's no takeoffs. He's going to prison. And he's mentally ill. He's going to be subject to mental examinations. That's the pattern of conduct. That's Vivanco. He's going to federal prison. He's going to be subject to mental examinations. And that's the entity. Mike Lorenz is equally mentally ill. Mike Lorenz is going to prison for what Vivanco is engaging in with the Ontario International Airport. And this is the city of Ontario that's providing evidence against the people of the state who are going to prison. P.O.C. This is the entity that's going to be subject to martial law. There will be no Ontario Police Department. They're not engaged in law enforcement. They're stalking me. And they're monitoring my vagina, which while I'm in Upland, and the entity is engaging in the same pattern of conduct in the absence of any sun. No sun in Ontario while it's set over my head at the Upland Public Library. This is P.O.C. It is currently 8:11 p.m. All right, sexual assault and battery with the Ontario Police Department, the Ontario International Airport. This is a paper plate. Charlie Uncle 47 Wendy 84. This is P.O.C. and Sarah's Regis Group is being prosecuted for everything that I just documented. Sarah's Regis Group is being prosecuted for the totality of the crimes that it's engaged in. They're doing so in relevant position while I return to Ontario, and the U.S. military are engaging in cartwheels over that apartment building outside of zoning provisions and outside of anything that has to do with a takeoff from the airport or a landing or any destination, while the entity is engaging in stalking with commercial planes. And this is the prosecution of every single company. I'm going to prosecute the literal employees that are engaging in the U.S. government's pattern of conduct. P.O.C. It is currently 8:13 p.m. 8 Nancy David Charlie 950 P.O.C. All right, you'll see the images at 8:14 p.m. The people of the state, gang stalking, that includes Sarah's Regis Group, stalking and monitoring with the U.S. military and the commercial airline companies that are gang stalking and further into murder with the U.S. military. And they're going to be criminally, not just civilly prosecuted, and they will also be put out of business. License 8W Charlie Apple 744. License 08852 David 4, that's the U.S. Marine Corps. That's no coincidence. Stalking in Ontario at the Ovid Family Community Library. All the homosexuals that engaged in a mentally ill means of a ritual under the fake sun today, they make up the terrorists that are the Marine Corps. License 5 David Victor Sam 978. Stalking again by helicopter, obsessing over my vagina, keeping me under surveillance under articles in the sky like a fake sun and a fake moon. License 7 Nancy Yolanda Larry 638. This entity is absurdly out of its mind, and they're going to be subject to commitments. And these third parties are subject to prison. 8 Mary George Frank 651. That's P.O.C. And you know who's inside of the Ovid Family Community Library? All the defendants that are going to prison. And their co-defendants in Upland, California are aiding and putting them there. But the case is already complete against Sean Thrasher, Mickey, Dylan, and all the rest of them. But every day that I document is the ongoing confirmation that that's exactly where you're going, and it's going to be martial law. All right, that's P.O.C. It's currently, by the way, 8:16 p.m. P.O.C. Alrighty, I just want you to see the ongoing cooperative teamwork of the mentally ill. This is the entity that is again stalking me conspicuously, sounding helicopter activity, following me around, even into different cities. And this is the overweight, dirt-covered demon, stalking me with the airport, stalking with the entity that's the same U.S. military that does so in helicopter and does so in commercial planes. Stalking where the fake moon is. This is indeed someone that's mentally ill, and equally mentally ill even when they're not looking ridiculous or dancing or something. These are demons. Is following this stalking conduct that the entity is doing so conspicuously, so obviously, so nonchalantly, while at the same time trying to access my social media and delete my videos. They're doing both at the same time. Scared to death that I publish it, triggered when I publish it and refer to it on my podcast, still engaging in it, and also trying to delete it. The entity's engaging in this under the fake moon. This is the entity that's going to be committed. That's the bottom line. This is the entity is going to be subject to martial law. Eddie is over here gang stalking as well, maintaining surveillance. The entities is fine, plane after plane after plane. This is surveillance, and these are just the demons that are outside. The entity is gang stalking through the apartment complex, the College of Laverne, University of Law, the Ontario Police, the fire departments. They're always engaging in surveillance, sounding sirens at the drop of a hair on the ground. They're demons that are engaging in comprehensive surveillance. This is the entity stalking by helicopter, so I want to capture that. This is P.O.C. The people of the state are demons who are pacing at the C Street turn circle. When they do that, impulsible light moves over here and moves on the wall wherever it is that I'm located. They are demons who are stalking me with light, and that's the population that sits inside of the library like nothing is happening. They are going to be committed with this evidence. They are indeed psychopaths, severely mentally ill, and mental illness is not based on your facial expression or lack thereof. The ongoing criminal pattern of conduct of the entity's obsession and their ongoing appetite for outwardly seeking to and failing at and unpersuasively engaging in whatever they think a demeanor of someone that's not doing it looks like is exactly what is going to be used to have them diagnosed and voluntarily committed. This is the pattern of conduct. That's what serial killers do. That's what the people of the state are. They're violent sex offenders. They're stalkers. They are mentally ill, and they engage in this as a government system. And that's the entity that's flying over College of Laverne, University of Law, which is going to be not keeping any accredited status. And nobody attending that law school is going to be practicing law. That's going to be a matter of policy with regard to what the U.S. military, the government is doing with the people of the state. The absurdity of sitting in, and those demons are gang stalking me, and then they think they're going to sit for the California bar and be an officer of the court so that they can gang stalk other people like what these officers of the court did to me in California. I'm going to prosecute them and have the laws change. It's currently 10:35 p.m. This is P.O.C.